Good morning, aviators. This is your pilot, Quentin J. Parker, and we are on the grounds at Felts Field Airport in Spokane, Washington. Today, we're going to recreate a little hop that I did in the real world to Missoula International Airport in Missoula, Montana. This is going to take us across some fairly mountainous terrain, and to accomplish that, we are going to fly Just Flight's Piper Warrior 2 for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I have been looking forward to the release of this plane for a very long time, as I'm very familiar with not only the Piper Warrior in real life, but with Just Flight's X-Plane version. So we're going to walk through some of its features while we're on the ground. And as you can see, Just Flight brought their texturing A game, outside and inside, with a minor little quibble, which I'll get to later. I'm going to spend a good chunk of time on the tablet, or EFB as it's called. If you want to bypass all this and just get straight to the flying, I'm on the runway at the 14-minute mark. You can just skip right to there. Alright, now that we're settled. So again, just taking the quality of the texturing. This is a 70s era Piper PA-28, and you can see it's rendered to be lived in. It looks like it's modeled to have several hundred, if not 1,000 hours on the airframe. And with the exception of the fire extinguisher right there at my feet, it looks rather homey and comfortable. First things first, we're going to flip the intercom switch into the up position. What this will do is this will bring up the tablet used for configuration. And the first thing we're going to start off with is the aircraft states. These are basically templates that you can use for however you want to start your flight. Cold and dark.
Cold and dark selected.
Well, it speaks for itself. Everything is powered down, and you have to start it up manually. Ready for start.
Ready for start selected.
Which basically does all the pre-start work for you. And ready for takeoff.
Ready for takeoff selected.
Which starts the engine, like so. And the only thing you have to do is remove the parking brake, tax it to the active. So we're going to go back to cold and dark.
Cold and dark selected.
Because that's generally how I begin my flights. At the top of the middle column, you'll see a tab for automatic fuel selection. And if you're just too lazy to change the fuel tanks every 10 or 15 minutes, you can make use of this.
State saving enabled.
Speaks for itself, basically. The condition you leave the plane in at the end of one flight, that's the condition it will start in on your next flight. Alright, so back to GPSs. The most modern and probably most popular option is going to be the dual GPSs of the Garmin 530 and the Garmin 430. Another option will just be a single Garmin 530. Yet another option is the Garmin GPS 100. I tried messing with this thing and I couldn't get the hang of it. It just didn't seem very intuitive. I think I'm going to go with the dual Garmins. The fourth tab on the aircraft options gives you a choice between a very simple factory direct directional indicator or a more modern horizontal situation indicator. Personally, I do like the retro look of the factory installed directional indicator. However, just know that it will precess on you. And if you're too lazy to change the fuel tanks every 10 or 15 minutes, then you're definitely too lazy to realign gyros that have precessed. Now for equipment options, we have the tow bar, chocks, tie downs, and wheel fairings. All of these are configured from the EFB. There are no external click regions, so make this part of your pre-flight. When we're in the air, I'm going to check to see if the wheel fairings really have that much of an impact on our airspeed. Under equipment are doors. The doors being the cockpit door and the cargo door. The cockpit door can be opened, locked, and latched directly with a single click of the mouse on each of its controls. The cargo door, however, can only be opened and closed through the tablet. The co-pilot control will render your selected co-pilot externally and in the virtual cockpit. At least it did in the release version. In the patched versions it doesn't. Above the co-pilot section, you'll see the maintenance section where you can perform, well, maintenance. At the bottom there's a little check mark. You can click to enable or disable warnings. You can refill the oil, and you can recharge the batteries. Be careful with the recharge, as it will only charge up to 8 volts instead of 12. Now we're going to come back down to the bottom of the tablet screen for flight info, which features nice to know things about your active flight. We'll come back to this once we get in the air. And just FYI, right here next to the intercom switch is the DME switch for nav 1 and nav 2. And it just selects your DME input device. The engine is super loud, so while it's not running, let's check out the sounds before we fire it up. Disregard that the throttle animation isn't well synced with its sound. This is fixed in the patch. Once the battery is enabled, my selected and intended pilot figure is moved to the right seat, and another figure takes the left seat. But this is only the case from an exterior view. And even though my co-pilot no longer appears in the virtual cockpit in the patched version, the pilot is still shifted to the right seat in the exterior view, like I'm a CFI or giving him a demo flight or some shit. Alright, it's time to light the pipes. Let's get it going. Clear left, clear cowl, clear right, clear prop! Nothing, nothing. Alright, fuel pressure, fuel temp, alright, let's, fuel pump, landing light, pitot heat, The avionics master switch is situated just to the right of the co-pilot's yoke mount. The emergency avionics power, right next to it, that will do the trick, but why use the emergency bus when you don't have to? Alright, I messed up. Last time I flew was at night, and I did not turn off the lights, so my bad. I screwed that up. State saving in action, people. Alright, low voltage is off. Okay, just so you know, the volume at which the engine's running right now, that's its normal volume all the time, and I have to increase the volume on my voice so it doesn't overpower it. But also, there's no way to reduce the engine volume. I find this to be odd, considering that the Just Flight Archer 3 has a function where you can click on the headphone jack and it will act like you're wearing a headset and reduce the engine volume. That function does not appear on this plane. So in small doses or on short flights, it's not so bad, but on longer flights, it becomes oppressive really, really quickly, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I'm hoping they include that functionality in future patches. Alright, let's grab the local ATIS.
Phelps Airport information, Foxtrot 1300 Zulu. Wind 024 at 5. Visibility, 9er. Sky condition, few clouds at 1,200 feet, few clouds at 4,300 feet, few clouds at 12,400 feet. Temperature, 14. Dew point, 10. Altimeter tree 0.16. Visual runway 4 right and visual runway 4 left in use. Landing and departing runway 4 right and runway 4 left. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you have Foxtrot.
Phelps ground, Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 ready to taxi east departure with Foxtrot.
Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 taxi to and hold short of runway 4 left using taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 132.5 when ready.
Brake release. Moving.
Taxiing
moving,
hold short
moving.
runway 4 left via taxiway
Brakes
Alpha
work.
Piper Juliet Foxtrot 6. Phelps Tower Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 ready at runway 4 left east departure.
Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 altimeter tree 0.16 wind 024 at 5. East departure approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 4 left.
Alright, check out the scratching texture on the plexiglass. Shows in the sunlight.
Cleared for takeoff runway 4 left Piper Juliet Foxtrot 6.
Engine output looks good. We have takeoff power. Release. We're rolling, we're rolling, we're rolling. Speed's alive. Rotate. Oof. The sun visors are quite effective, and check out that reflection on them.
Piper Juliet Foxtrot 6 continue for east departure.
Phelps Tower Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 continue for east departure.
Somebody needs to have the ass beat for cleaning these canopy windows with a Brillo pad. Once we are clear of Phelps Field's Delta airspace, I am going to reduce the volume on which the engine sound plays to an appropriate sound level.
Piper Juliet, Foxtrot, 6 leaving my airspace, frequency change approved.
Phelps Tower Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 frequency change.
Much better. Alright, so this is what we're doing. We're currently climbing up to a cruising altitude of 9,500. We're heading northeast to Coeur d'Alene's VOR. Once over Coeur d'Alene, we're going to turn due east, tracking in direct about 50 nautical miles to Mullen Pass, and then continuing east for about 70 nautical miles to Missoula. Along the way, I picked 2 VFR checkpoints, the first being Shoshone County Airport, letting me know I'm still in Idaho, and the other being Mineral County Airport in Superior, Montana. And I'm going to post the pictures I took of them when I flew over them for comparison's sake. Okay, we got Lake Hayden right in front of our left wing, and Lake Coeur d'Alene off to the right. There is Lake Coeur d'Alene. It is always full of boaters, and they are living their best life, let me tell you. Alright, we're 10 miles past Coeur d'Alene's VOR. Should be able to pick up Mullen Pass at this range. Gonna track inbound direct. The Century 21 autopilot only controls the roll axis. It doesn't control pitch, so it won't do altitude hold. However, there is a cheat. Right above the test button in the lower right is the ambient light sensor. If you press that, that will act as altitude hold. But know that that's not what it does in the real world. Okay, oil temperature, oil pressure, fuel pressure, all in the green. See that we've burned through about 4 or 5 gallons of fuel in the left tank. Check out that reflection. It gives the impression of a plastic cover. And while we're down here, take note that the right fuel gauge is warped. I can't even really say it's warped. It's not even really the same graphic. But because its scale is so off, it's almost unusable. Fuel pump. Right tank. Fuel pump off. So we could follow I-90 through this mountain pass, and it'll take us all the way into Missoula. There's my red dome light to see things in the cockpit when the sun goes down, and preserve my night vision at the same time. So that will come in handy. The vent controls don't move. And there's individual gauge lighting. And these look great in the dark. "31 miles out from Mullen Pass." Let's test the annunciator lights. They're all good. Maybe it's just me, but the graphics that are used for the annunciator lights when they're lit, and also the KN62A display when it's activated, they just look kind of strange to me. Everything about the cockpit is razor sharp, high definition, but it looks like they took a grainy ass picture of the real world displays when they're illuminated, and they pasted them into the render. So you've got these sharp, clear lines and colors for the cockpit, and then you look over at the DME's display and it just looks out of place. It just looks bad. On altitude, on course. Low voltage, push to test. Alright, let's check the tab. The tailwind component is surprisingly low. And it's always a gentle tailwind component. I've never seen it particularly substantial. The density altitude is higher than I computed it that it would be. I'm not sure if that's right. My current engine settings, I can get about just over 700 nautical miles. 6 hours of flying. If you're going to use this to manage your fuel, you need to leave it up the whole time. Every time you turn it on and off, it resets fuel used, which makes it basically unreliable. Disable wheel fairings and see if it affects my speed. Wheel fairings disengaged. True airspeed 105. Went up to 107, and wheel fairings back on. $106. It's inconclusive whether or not wheel fairings actually have an effect on airspeed. So that means, geographically, still in Idaho. Here we go. Small little town. It's got its own little airport, so that's cool. I wish I wrote down the exact weather conditions of the day I took this flight for real. I do remember it was early July and it was almost 90 on the ground. So I had some density altitude to be mindful of, but I do remember going over those mountains. I got hit with a couple of updrafts that, whew, altitude control was a non-issue, and I had to request a block altitude of 2,000 feet because there was I couldn't hold the aircraft. The updrafts were just substantial. By comparison, though, this is great. You know, it's nice and smooth. Okay, you can see in this exterior view that my door, it is unlatched and unlocked. That is not cool. I'm PIC, so that's on me. I should have made sure that that door was locked, especially since I'm seated right next to it now. You see that smudge right above the left wing? If that appeared on a fighter canopy, somebody would definitely get their ass beat. Yeah, every time I look left, I think somebody's there, right off the wing. There are no features to being in the back. The curtain doesn't draw. There's no in-flight magazine. Alright, I'm just going to give my thoughts about the Just Flight Piper Warrior now, rather than rush it at the end. And straight up, I like it. It looks great. It flies well, pretty much by the numbers. I find it to be a good stable platform, just like the real world plane. It's slow, just like the real world plane. I like it for sightseeing. Reflection I spoke about earlier on the gauges. Like they've got plastic covers. Nice. I can see this being my daily driver. I think it's a truer representation of what it's supposed to be. I know I've said it before, but I'm going to keep saying it. The native SR-22 is trash. So, yeah, I like it. The things I don't like, they have to implement some type of active noise reduction for the engine noise. That's just, it's exhausting. They need to fix the right fuel gauge graphic. This was something I observed way back in the X-Plane Piper Warrior. I had hoped that they would correct it, but you know, I guess they just cut and pasted it right into this render. And remove the Just Flight pilot from the left seat and let the plane behave like every other plane in flight sim. Yeah, and since we're talking visual aesthetics, do something about the the DME display and the annunciator lights. They just look low res and pasted in. Adding some exterior click regions would be nice. I don't think much of the EFB. I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the tablet. It doesn't strike me as being terribly useful. Either add some features to the tablet or just dump it entirely.
Missoula Airport information, Lima 14000 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility 10. Sky condition. Few clouds at 500 feet. Few clouds at 4,300 feet. Few clouds at 12,500 feet. Temperature 7. Dew point 10. Altimeter tree 0.25. ILS Yankee runway 12 in use. Landing and departing runway 12.
Alright, tuning into Missoula, 48 miles out.
Advise controller on initial contact. You have Lima.
Three 3025. come down. Oh, that's pretty. So again, yeah, Flight Simulator is very, very pretty. No two ways about it. Okay, on the other side of that hill is my second VFR checkpoint. That lets me know I am in Montana. I meant to point out that I really think my co-pilot has a pair of Sigtronics S20 headsets. Just like Dave Clark headsets use that very particular green, Sigtronic uses a very particular blue.
Make straight in runway 12 Piper Juliet Foxtrot 6.
Nice and easy. Carrying about an extra 5 knots. It's not really a problem. 2 reds. All red. Straight ahead. Boom. That wasn't too bad.
Piper Juliet Foxtrot 6, turn next taxiway.
And I'm gonna make my first turn off. Yay!
Piper Juliet Foxtrot 6, contact ground on 121.9er.
I wonder if that's a player or AI up there.
121.9.
Not really.
Piper
Never mind.
Juliet Foxtrot 6. Missoula ground, Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6 taxi to parking.
Piper November Papa India Juliet Foxtrot 6, taxi to general aviation parking by taxiway Alpha.
So the Piper Warrior got us safely into Missoula. If you're about that general aviation life, I don't really think you'll be displeased with this aircraft. I said what I said. This has been Quentin J. Parker, your pilot, and I'll catch up with you guys a little later. I'm out. Bye.